Welcome back to Perspective. Today, being the 8th day of April, we ushered in a dawn of a new set of security apparatus in the Kenya Police Service. Hilary Nzioka Mutiabai was sworn in at the Supreme Court, and he will be in term for the next 4 years, non-renewable, after the term of Joseph Kipchirchir Boynet expired. Well, when you talk to matters talk about matters of security, there is also human rights groups. Sometimes we hear a lot of queries, extrajudicial killings, violation of human rights. Well, today we happen to be having in studio the Executive Director of Haki Africa, Mana Hussein Khalid.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
All the way from Mombasa.
Yes, indeed.
First things first, briefly, in a minute, what does Haki Africa do?
Haki Africa is a human rights organization, as you've put it forward, and we're based in Mombasa, but we are working nationally.
Yes.
And also we have a few activities that we're doing across the continent. And our primary business is the promotion and protection of human rights. So what we actually do is to work with state and non-state actors, and particularly communities, to empower them about their rights, for them to understand the Bill of Rights in the Constitution of Kenya, Chapter 4, and to make sure that those who are vested with the responsibility of promoting and protecting human rights actually deliver as required. And that is why the security sector then becomes a crucial segment in the work that we do, because we know that without security, actually it becomes difficult, almost impossible, to enjoy any other rights. So Haki Africa has taken a keen interest on security, because we believe that without the right to security, then many other rights are going to be violated. And that's the work that Haki Africa does.
We've seen you fighting for human rights, and especially at the coast. First things first, we have a new Inspector General of Police. So much expectations. He has in tray full already.
Yes.
If you ask me, I attended the function. He did speak about building more police stations, harmonization of a command center. He talked about National Police Service Referral Hospital, delayed promotions will be. There's so much that the IG will be looking at. What are your views on the new appointment?
I agree with you that this new position carries with it lots of expectations.
Yes.
As we all know, the security situation, unfortunately, in the country is not the best. 2 weeks ago, you heard of the 6 bodies that were actually found at Savo West National Park. 6 bodies is quite a lot. You know, it's startling to any person to see that the security situation in the country is at this stage. A few months back, we saw the attack at 14 Riverside.
Yes.
So the issue of terrorism, violent extremism, and radicalization is very much in Kenyans' minds. We also know that we have seen an upsurge in criminal gangs, not just in Mombasa, but in Nairobi, in places like Dandora, Kibera, Mathare. We've heard of criminal gangs in Kisumu that have taken up, conventional weapons to attack innocent citizens and community members. So yes, the in-tray is quite heavy, but also we know, besides the normal, not normal, but besides the security concerns, he also has a heavy plate in terms of addressing the security sector reforms that have been ongoing. Delayed promotions, as you've rightfully put it. We have issues of terms of employment for police officers, you know, issues of housing and related matters. Of late, we've also heard of police taking their own lives. In Mombasa at the Port Police Station. Not far back, just a few weeks back, a police officer took a gun, put it in his mouth and blew up himself. So issues of psychosocial support for police officers because of what they go through on a day-to-day, the cases they handle and these kinds of issues are all quite heavy. And the new Inspector General, the third Inspector General that the country will be having, has quite a lot to do And he cannot sit on his laurels and think that everything is okay. He has to hit the ground running because there's so much that needs to be done. And we Kenyans are hopeful and are expecting a lot from this new Inspector General.
We've seen you on television actually talking a lot about extrajudicial killings. And looking at Mombasa, we've had Mombasa Republican. We also have a lot of radicalized youths.
Yes.
What is Haki Africa ready to do in terms of working with the new security system to ensure that this problem is wiped out completely?
First of all, let me say that we extend our hands to the new Inspector General, Mr. Mutiambai, and we welcome his appointment, and we are looking forward to working with him. We know that there's a lot that needs to be done, and we can't totally depend on one individual to do everything. Security is everyone's concern. I mean, you, me, people out there, Kenyans everywhere, are concerned about security. And I think we all need to come together to address the insecurity problems that we have within the country. But yes, as Haki Africa, I think we've made strides to try and address the security situation or to assist with that. Late last year, we had a meeting with Dr. Matiang'i, the CS for Interior, at his office here in Nairobi. And basically, together with other actors from the Police Reforms Working Group, of which Haki Africa is a member of, we presented these issues to them. And in that meeting, we had everyone, the Inspector General, we had IPOA, we had the DPP, we had the DCI, and everyone was present in the meeting. And we emphasized to them that Kenyans want accountable policing. We don't want policing where the police are a law unto themselves. We want police officers who will respond to community issues, police officers who will be ready to explain when something goes wrong, particularly when a killing of an individual happens. We must respect the sanctity of life. And to do that, we have to have accountable policing that responds to the human rights concerns of the people. So we communicated this to them, and they told us that they've received the message and that they will go around the entire country to meet civil society groups and other actors to see what can be done collaboratively together between the state and civil society to improve the security situation. And true to their word, come January, we saw the CS himself coming down to Mombasa. So again, we had a very fruitful discussion where he committed himself and his ministry, of course, with all the top security organs that were present in that meeting, to having accountable policing. And we, of course, were very happy with that. But the one thing that we still are failing to see is that despite their commitments and despite their words to support accountable policing, we are still receiving or seeing high numbers of extrajudicial killings. For example, in Mombasa this year, the numbers are close to 17. Killings that have been people who've died as a result of a police bullet. Also, at the same time, we are seeing criminal gangs causing havoc and running amok in society. And as you know, it is the police's responsibility to ensure every individual has security. So in as much as we're saying these criminal gangs are promoting insecurity, we're asking the police to deal with them in a sober manner. We want these youth who are causing unrest to be arrested. We want the rule of law to be followed. Killing is definitely not a solution. We have laws in this land. Any suspect is supposed to be apprehended, presented in a court of law, evidence adduced, and where guilt is confirmed, then these individuals should be put away. So these are some of the major concerns that we have, and we hope that they'll be able to address them.
How have you been working with the security apparatus? There's a time the police had singled out northeastern and at the coast as hotspot for violent extremism, for terror-related activities. And how have you been able to work with the security apparatus? Right now, there are no many cases as such as before.
For many years, Haki Africa has been agitating for state to work with non-state actors, because we've always believed that you can't address violent extremism just as a state alone. This is a societal problem, and we all need to come together. So we're very happy that a few years down the line, particularly in 2015, the government launched the National Strategy to Counter Violent Extremism. And within that national strategy, it provided specifically that we must have county action plans. And these county action plans are supposed to be done in collaboration between states and non-state actors. So for instance, Haki Africa has been working very closely with the national government, and particularly the National Counterterrorism Center, in developing the county action plan for Mombasa. Together with Governor Joho and the County Commissioner Achoki, we were able to launch Mombasa's counter-violent extremism strategy in 2017. And I must say, in the last few years, working together with NCTC and other actors, we've been able to achieve so much, you know, almost 10 times what we were able to achieve in the older days where people were working on their own. So I think as Haki Africa, we've tried to reach out to many actors so that we can come together, we can pull together. And you've correctly put it that the Coast and Northeastern for quite some time now have been at the front line of violent extremism. And we've been able to mobilize local communities and individuals within these communities to take the lead. So today as we speak, the Coast and Northeastern are the counties that have actually developed CVE strategies. These CVE strategies have been launched, and they're currently in the process of rolling out the implementation. So, and these CVE action plans under the banner of the NCTC have been able to reduce levels of violent extremism. That's why you're seeing now that issues of recruitment are now being reported in other parts of the country. It's not a good thing. Recruitment, whether at the coast, northeastern, or other parts, it's still a bad thing, but it shows that as a coast, as a coastal communities and as northeastern communities, we've been able to build resilience such that these recruiters are now looking elsewhere. If you look at the Dusit attack, you will hear, you remember that it is believed it was planned and everything was done in central Kenya. I believe it was in Nyeri County. Yeah, it wasn't, you know, in coast or northeastern. And this is a shift we're seeing, that these people are now moving to other areas. And I believe the Coast and Northeastern have been able to successfully build that resilience within the communities such that now they're not being seen as the only vulnerable counties where these insurgents are aiming to get their recruits from.
Let's go back to the extrajudicial killings.
Yes.
I remember some time back, human rights groups had been targeted, and there were cases that they are being sympathizers to terror groups. You were on the front line to condemn this. Where is the situation now?
That's a very good question. And Haki Africa, as you've correctly put it, was one of those organizations that was singled out by the state and accused of being sympathizers of criminal groups and terror groups and all that. And for almost 8 months, our accounts were frozen, and we were required to prove that we are actually not in any way connected to these issues. So we were investigated by almost every agency, every state agency, you know, the police, the CID, the NIS, the National Counterterrorism Center. We even went to the Insurance Regulatory Commission, Kenya Revenue Authority, and we are happy that we were vindicated. Not a single mistake was picked as associated with Haki Africa. And of course, after several months, it was declared that we actually have nothing wrong that we're doing. And of course, we were allowed to continue operating. And we didn't take that against the state. We felt that it's already embarrassing enough that it had come to that level. And we started reaching out to show the government that actually we are here to stay and we are here to help our communities. We don't work because of money. We don't work because of being seen. We don't work because of wanting to just oppose the government for because of just opposing. We work because we want to help our communities. We are here because we believe as a country, as a nation, we can develop our country to be a new country with new vision that respects human rights and all that. So we've been able to reach out to state actors, and right now we are working very closely with the same individuals who had initially thought of us negatively.
Yes.
And now we are partners.
Yes.
We are going to the communities together. We are addressing violent extremism. We are addressing radicalization as a team. And we have seen that this has actually benefited not just our communities, but also the same individuals to understand fully where we are coming from. Because at times it's just a misunderstanding. People don't understand where you come from. For instance, in Mombasa, when criminal gang members are killed, Haki Africa usually comes out strongly to say this is not right.
Yes.
Because it's not the law. Suspects are supposed to be arrested, they're not supposed to be killed. But then community members will come out and say, oh, you're sympathizing with these criminal gang members. But that's not the case. All we are saying is follow the law. It is not Haki Africa that put the constitution out there that says everyone is innocent until proven guilty. We all voted for that constitution. We all said that we want that to be the law. How come today that law is violated and then we are saying it's okay? So if we want suspects to be killed, then let's change the law. Let's say all suspects are guilty as charged, you know, and if we say that, then we can allow the police to kill them because we'll have said all suspects are guilty. But if we're saying suspects are innocent until proven guilty by a court of law, not the police, then let's allow for due cause to happen.
Maybe on extrajudicial killings, I've covered cases in courts involving police and suspects, and IPOA is one of the players, and also human rights groups, several. According to you, right now, how is IPOA and other human rights groups like Haki Africa working together?
To begin with, IPOA, I think they're doing the best they can. Considering resources, capacity, and all that, I think they're doing the best they can. But unfortunately, their best is not enough. We have so many cases that have been taken to IPOA. Ourselves, just as Haki Africa, we've taken over 100 cases to IPOA. Unfortunately, 95 or 96% of these cases have not been acted upon. And in as much as we want to point a finger at IPOA, we also recognize that the issue of capacity. IPOA does not have the necessary resources, they don't have the necessary manpower, they don't have the necessary equipment to investigate all the cases that are presented to them. So I think the state needs to do better to capacitate IPOA to make sure that they have the necessary manpower and resources to deliver on their mandate. Because we've seen that Kenyans have a lot of faith in IPOA, and we need to accompany that with the requisite resources so that they can be able to do their work. About other institutions like the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, of course, the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, and other agencies, I think at this point in time, they're not very visible. Kenyans are not truly feeling them. And I think they need to do more to come out. We think that civil society, groups like Haki Africa, groups like IMLU, and others are presently at the forefront when we could have these state human rights institutions playing a bigger and better role. But it's all about balancing, and I think we're trying to get to that.
Let's get back to the extrajudicial killings. There were 6 bodies recovered at the park. So many groups, human rights groups, some say it was extrajudicial killings. How has the police service, according to you, and even to the incoming IG,
Inspector General,
supposed to work with groups like you to ensure that extrajudicial killings are a thing of the past?
To begin with the 6 bodies, the bodies were found in Savo West and in a very bad condition. The bodies had decomposed, and you couldn't tell whom they were because all the features were completely gone. And you know, these people, they do this intentionally. They put bodies in the national park, so the animals usually start feasting on them. So when these bodies were found, they were partly eaten by animals. So they were carried and they were taken to Mtito and then transferred to Nairobi. And Haki Africa was present during the post-mortem, which was held last week. And we saw the bodies, the state of the bodies. And we had very many families that had come when they heard that 6 bodies have been found. As you know, presently in the country, there are hundreds of people who have disappeared. And their families have never lost hope. So when they heard that 6 bodies were found, you had many families that came to try and see whether it was their kin. It's a very sorry state of affairs, because you don't know if it's your person or not. And then when you get to that place, you're told we can't tell because the bodies are in very bad condition. One thing is for sure is that these people were killed. From the post-mortem report, the doctors confirmed that 5 out of the 6 bodies died out of strangulation, and some of them actually even had ropes still tied around their necks, the bodies. So one of the bodies still had a polythene bag, which indicates that that person was suffocated to death. So it's one, and the 6th body, the doctors said most probably was an acid attack that caused the death. But of course they have taken these specimens for further analysis. So these are the issues that we are saying. We have a police state, or a police service in our country. How is it that we have police, yet these kinds of things are happening? It shouldn't be happening. If we have police, you should feel safe. How is it that we find 6 bodies with, you know, torture marks and all these things, yet we are proud of saying we have police? So these are the issues the Inspector General needs to look into. We cannot allow these things to be happening in our country, not in this time and era. It's just not acceptable, and we need to do better.
As we wind up,
yes,
you would look straight in the eye of the IG. What would you tell him in regards to the in-tray that is coming?
If I had Mr. Mutiambai right in front of me, and I had the opportunity to speak to him and he was listening, the first thing I would tell him is accountable policing. That is what Kenyans want. Kenyans want to know that if a police officer does something, then he can explain, he can account for what he has done. This impunity that has unfortunately turned our police service into a negative body to majority of Kenyans, we need to deal with it. We need to make sure that every police officer knows that any action that they take, they will be held responsible for it. When you feel you can do anything and you can walk without any consequences, then that leads to a very irresponsible police service. So I would tell Mr. Mutiambai, please address the issue of police accountability, and by all means, fight impunity within the police service.
Thank you so much.
We
are out of time. That was Perspective for today. We are delving into matters security and your human rights. We are taking another short, quick break, but when we come back, the latest from the business world.